The year is 1955. In the heart of Manhattan, inside a vault colder and more secure than Fort Knox, sat a prize worth more than the GDP of a small nation. The Great Steinburg Diamond, a flawless 179-carat marvel. Dubbed the Eye of New York by the breathless press, it was the jewel of the age, a symbol of American post-war wealth and German Jewish resilience. On a brisk Tuesday morning, at precisely 9 a.m., the vault was opened, the massive steel door swinging silently inward to reveal nothing. The diamond was gone. Not a broken lock, not a forced door, not a single scrap of evidence remained. It was, in the immediate judgment of the NYPD commissioner, an impossible crime. The FBI, NYPD's finest detectives, and global intelligence agencies launched a desperate hunt that spanned a decade. They chased master thieves, interrogated international syndicates, and tapped the phones of shadowy billionaires. But the actual thief was none of them, and the ultimate destination of the legendary jewel was the most baffling twist of all. The Steinburg Diamond, the centerpiece of the most astonishing heist in American history, was not found hidden in a Swiss bank or a forgotten European castle. It was found 7 years later, wrapped in newspaper, tucked inside the shoebox of a homeless woman named Elsie, sleeping on a park bench in Central Park. This is the true, untold story of how Elsie, the invisible woman of New York, became the accidental guardian of the world's greatest treasure, and the astonishing, deadly truth of why the diamond was stolen in the first place. Part 1. The Spark and the Shadow. Chapter 1. The Weight of History. Leo Steinburg did not deal in small things. His legacy, like the jewels he traded, was measured in carats and continents. He was a man who understood that history was merely the backdrop against which fortunes were won and lost. In 1905, Leo, barely 20, stood over the gaping maw of the Kimberley mine when the rough stone, a massive oily chunk, was brought forth. Even before the first cut, he knew he held something unique. Over the next 40 years, through meticulous, terrifying labor, the stone was slowly transformed, culminating in the 179-carat Great Steinburg Diamond, a jewel so perfectly blue-white and flawless that it seemed to absorb the light around it, holding a cold, internal glow. The stone's existence was intertwined with the darkest moments of the 20th century. When Hitler's shadow fell over Europe in the late 1930s, the Steinburg family, powerful Jewish diamond traders based in Antwerp and Berlin, realized their prize could not remain. They risked everything, creating an elaborate, multi-stage escape route for the diamond, not just across the borders, but across the ocean. Its journey was a spy thriller in itself, smuggled first in a diplomatic pouch to Lisbon, then disguised in a tin of inexpensive coffee beans aboard a cramped freighter sailing for Havana. The entire operation was bankrolled and coordinated by Leo's son, Arthur Steinburg, a man whose nerves were as finely cut as the diamond he protected. By 1942, the Steinburg Diamond had found temporary sanctuary in a reinforced safe in Havana, where it waited out the war, symbolizing a powerful, silent defiance against the forces attempting to erase the Steinburg name. When it finally arrived in New York in 1946, it was not merely a jewel, it was a survivor. Arthur Steinburg, now the patriarch, oversaw its construction in 1952. Situated deep beneath a nondescript financial building in the lower 50s, the vault was a marvel of post-war engineering. It featured triple-layered steel, a complex pneumatic lock system, and surveillance technology so advanced it was classified as a national security asset. Arthur loved to tell reporters, "The diamond is safer here than the gold at Fort Knox. It is beyond reach. It is timeless."
He could not have been more wrong. Elsie didn't live in New York. She lived around it. For many, the city was a machine built of glass, steel, and ambition. For Elsie, it was a complex organism breathing rhythmically around the 18-inch gap of sidewalk where she existed. She was one of the invisible people, those whose poverty had rendered them transparent to the millions rushing past to their next appointment, their next cocktail, or their next fortune. Her journey to the streets had been a slow, grinding decline, starting back in the desperation of the Great Depression. Born Elspeth Elsie Turner, she had been a bright girl from a small factory town in upstate New York. The closure of the mill, the loss of her father to illness, and a series of economic collapses had systematically stripped away her anchors. She arrived in Manhattan in 1940 with a dime and a dream, only to find the city cared little for either. She learned early that survival demanded the erasure of self. By 1955, Elsie knew the geography of necessity better than any city planner. She understood the precise microclimates of the park benches, the vents that blew warm air in the winter, and the specific alleyways where the trash was discarded after the fancy midtown dinners, a source of both food and discarded newspapers for bedding. She was a silent, ephemeral expert in the logistics of the underbelly. This deep knowledge of the street gave her an astonishing, unintentional advantage. She was the city's ultimate observer. Because nobody ever looked at her, she was free to look at everything. She saw the fleeting moments, the misplaced keys, the hushed arguments behind tinted windows, and the unusual routines of the powerful. She knew which banker was having an affair, which politician drank too much whiskey at lunch, and precisely when the night guards changed their patrol patterns on Fifth Avenue, information that was invaluable, yet entirely useless to her. Elsie's only personal possession of importance was a sturdy, worn shoebox. It contained the few relics she still claimed from her former life: a tarnished locket with a faded picture of her mother, a smooth skipping stone from her childhood river, and crucially, a stack of recent newspapers to serve as insulation against the cold cement. This box was her anchor, her safe, her entire estate. Her quiet existence was a protest against the city's manic pursuit of wealth. She had nothing, yet she was free from the crushing weight of having something to lose. She was a blank slate, an open eye, waiting patiently on a Central Park bench for the sun to set, entirely unaware that the most powerful, dangerous, and dazzling object in the world was about to be dropped into her simple, unseen life.